You have middle class people who are becoming devastated. You have the intelligentsia, which is university people, and you have the urban poor. And also you have the cultural concept of resistance, which has been in Iran for the past 47 years in different forms and shapes. And this has been the regime's nightmare. You see, for the last 2.5 years, Khamenei's regime supreme leader knew that another uprising would be inevitable.
Yep.
And now what the regime feared has become reality.
To Iran now, where Donald Trump has said the United States is locked and loaded and ready to go if Tehran cracks down on protests sweeping the country. These protests are the most widespread since 2022, and they've been taking place across Iran following the collapse of its real currency. At least 8 people are reported to have been killed in the past week of demonstrations. Let's discuss the US President's warning with Shahin Gobadi, a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Shahin, welcome to the programme. Hello, Shahin.
Thank you for having me. And first of all, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, please go on.
Okay. First of all, allow me to wish you Happy New Year to you and all your good listeners.
That's well received, Shahin, and the same to you as well. So thank you very much. So let's think about what's happened this week. I mean, President Trump made his Truth Social intervention on Wednesday, but since then, several people have been killed by the Iranian authorities. And if the president's, Mr. Trump's warning was meant to deter the supreme leader or the Basij paramilitary force, it doesn't seem to have worked, does it?
Well, I think, one has to keep in mind that this regime has been in power solely by brute force. And as Iranian people have also shown that they have no desire to give up. So the fact that this regime has resorted to killing of the protesters should not surprise anyone. One has to keep in mind that this regime has executed 120,000 dissidents over the years. But I think what's important is that despite this crackdown, despite the regime's execution spree in the last 2 years, people are on the streets. Their demands are very clear. They want to see a regime change by themselves for themselves, as is evident from their slogans. Also, they reject any form of dictatorship, being the previous dictatorship of the Shah or theocracy in their chance of down with the oppressor being the Shah or the supreme leader. So basically, the Iranian people are totally determined to bring about a regime change by themselves. As we can clearly see, the protest is now totally nationwide.
But the question is, Shahin, when the president... sorry, Shahin, let me intervene because the line keeps dropping. When the president intervened on Truth Social and basically said, leave the people alone. If you start killing them, we're going to intervene. Be very, very careful. We're locked and loaded. What did you think that meant? What did you hope that meant?
Basically, I think this is... we have always said that the world should be on the side of the Iranian people and their rights. And I think we have always called for a firm policy when it comes in support of the Iranian people, and particularly very much condemning the violence against them. But at the same time, we have always maintained that the ultimate solution will come to a regime change by the Iranian people and themselves. And there's no need for boots on the ground or any foreign military intervention. Rather, we believe this has been a task of the Iranian people and the organized resistance, particularly in the form of resistance units or rebellious youth, as they're striving to bring about that change. And I think this is the reality that's happening on the ground. But obviously, the international community, including the United States, should...
Shahin.
Yes.
You dropped out for a second. I'm going to jump in now because you talked about the solution not being foreign boots on the ground, but it's in the hands of the Iranian people. And every few years, the last time, of course, since was in 2022, there is this upsurge, this anger, sometimes when the authorities have done something terrible and killed a young woman, or when the currency has been devalued and people cannot buy food and traders are struggling and the regime doesn't seem to recognize that. Do you feel that each time there is an uprising, there are protests, you're getting closer and closer to overthrowing the dictatorship? Or do you think, we've seen this before?
No, definitely each time it gets closer. There's no doubt about that. So each time it gets closer, there's no doubt about that. And as you can see this time around, what's happening is basically what the regime's nightmare has been, because you have the combination of the middle class. Can you hear me? Or
yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, yeah, I can hear you. Do finish your point.
Okay. This time you see the combination of people who are out there is quite telling.
Yeah.
You have middle class people who are becoming devastated. You have the intelligentsia, which is university people, and you have the urban poor. And also you have the cultural concept of resistance, which has been in Iran for the past 47 years in different forms and shapes. And this has been the regime's nightmare. You see, for the last 2.5 years, Khamenei, the regime supreme leader, knew that another uprising would be inevitable.
Yep.
And now what the regime feared has become reality. So I think this is a very, very crucial moment in Iran's history.
Right. But how much contact, Shahin, have you had with supporters abroad? For example, with the US administration? Are you keeping them abreast of what is happening? Are you saying to them, well, hold back right now? You can't be seen to be too close to us, otherwise it will look like foreign interference. What is happening?
Well, obviously, the U.S. administration is quite aware of our positions. We have a very good contact with the U.S. Congress on both sides of the aisle, of Republicans and Democrats, and as you know, majority members of them have supported the Iranian National Council of Resistance of Iran and 10-point plan. Madam Mariam Rajavi, the resistance's president-elect. But I think one has to keep in mind that the key factor at the end of the day are the Iranian people and what happens in the streets. And I think that's where we should be focused on.
Sure, no, I mean, I'm trying to focus on that, Shahin.
But not only in Tehran.
Yeah, I'm trying to focus on that, Shahin. But as we saw last year with the 12-day conflict with Israel, if the local people in Iran feel that outside forces are trying to dictate what happens in the country, even if they hate the regime, even if they hate the Ayatollahs, they may feel, well, my love for Iran supersedes everything and we don't want to be dictated to by forces outside either.
I totally agree with you in that the solution should not be from outside of Iran, cannot be from outside of Iran. It would not be from outside of Iran. That's a lesson that one has learned and has to be learned from history. That's why the people, as I said, reject the notion that there could be any nostalgia to the previous dictatorship of the Shah, anything like this. This is all past. So you're absolutely correct that the Iranian people can only rely on themselves and their organized resistance. And that's exactly what's happening. That's what makes the regime very fearful of what has happened in the last 6 days.
Yeah. All right, Shahin, thank you very much. We should leave it there. That's Shahin Gobadi, who's a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. And apologies for the problems on that line. Hopefully you got the gist of what Shahin was saying and what I was asking him.